Alright guys, so I'm getting prepared to go to a screening. I'm gonna go to a screening of the new horror movie, The Curse of Llorona, which I'm excited for. And it's supposed to take place in the Conjuring universe. But at least that's what I heard. You really don't know till you see that. Well, I think it's confirmed actually. I don't know. But I'm gonna go see the movie today. I'm a bit excited because I kind of grew up on that folk tale of La Llorona. You know, I'm Hispanic, and then you were a kid and Hispanic, you probably heard the stories about Llorona. So personally, I'm excited for the movie. I can't wait to see what James Wan could do with the movie. I know he didn't direct it, but he did produce it, and he always has great ideas. So today's a screening. I'm excited, and I think it's an IMAX. I might be wrong, but anyways, let's head to the theater and let's go wait in line and let's watch the movie.
I still want to see that Spider-Man from. Into the Spiders? Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's hella good.
Alright guys, so I did go to a screening for The Curse of La Llorona, and personally, I was excited for this movie. If you're Hispanic and whenever you're a little kid, basically anytime you misbehaved, your parents would tell you to start behaving or else La Llorona is going to be after you. And it was supposed to be a way to scare you and kind of taunt you into being a good little kid. And for the most part, it worked when I was a kid, whether you choose to believe this or not, I know it's folktale to many people, but there are numerous reports of people in Mexico who actually saw La Llorona. And again, whether you choose to believe that or not, it's up to you, but there's actually a lot of good evidence leading up to it. So personally, I kind of believe it. Again, it's up to you guys whether you guys believe it or not, but I believe it. But anyways, let's talk about the movie. Basically, the story around this movie. There's this Mexican folktale about this evil ghost/spirit called La Llorona, and it's this woman in Mexico in the 1600s, and there's this tragic backstory to her that basically kind of leads up to her death. And after her death, she roams around kids, and whenever she's around these kids, she starts crying, and little kids are curious, so they kind of walk up to her, and she ends up killing the little kids. So basically, it's the way how we know the story. And being a Latino myself, I was kind of worried to see how this story would be handled in an American horror movie, because again, we want this movie to be more about how we would imagine it, not how American Hollywood studio would imagine it. And overall, I was pretty satisfied with it, and I actually felt like the writers and the director really understood this story and this famous folktale, and they really knew what they were working with. Because for the first two acts of this movie, they sort of did this story justice. And again, as someone who grew up listening to this stuff as a little kid, this is how the first two acts of this movie is how I would imagine this stuff. The movie's performances were overall really solid. Linda Cardellini was honestly great here, and the two little kids in this movie were surprisingly really, really good, especially when you notice what they were supposed to work with. Their performances felt quite believable in this movie, so I was really impressed by both little kids in this movie. The movie's writing is pretty solid till we get to that very Americanized third act. The movie is obviously an American horror movie, so there's obviously jump scares, and some of the jump scares are predictable and generic, but when they're not predictable and generic, they really work and they really feel effective. Surprisingly, the horror aspect here does not feel as cheap as I would imagine. Like there's some really good atmosphere and tension build up throughout the whole movie. And if there's a problem that I have with today's horror movies is that many horror movies rely on jump scares to scare you. But again, I was worried that this was going to be that type of movie, and sometimes it kind of is. But at the same time, this movie really has that very terrifying atmosphere around it. and you're just kind of, you're drawn into the story, and there's a lot of tension throughout the movie, so it really worked. Uh, Although I felt like the setup to the story was kind of rushed. I think it's one of the biggest problems I had with this movie. And again, the third act, I started to have problems with this movie. Like I do, the problems I had with the third act of this movie are usually the problems that I have with today's horror movies. Because the third act, like I mentioned, is totally Americanized. Like, the third act in this movie is literally any third act to any modern horror movie ever. But at the same time, at least it was fun to watch. Like, I kind of see why they ended this movie off the way they ended this movie. But if there's one thing that I personally hated about this movie, is how there's a desperate attempt in this movie to tie this into the Conjuring universe. I know that there were rumors saying that this movie would be in the Conjuring universe, and for a while I thought that the rumors were fake, but then I kind of started to believe it because on the posters it said from the people who brought you the Conjuring universe. But at the same time, I thought that that was just a way to promote and sell the movie. But no, they actually did it. They this movie is officially a part of the Conjuring universe. It's officially tied into those movies, and because they straight up mention Annabelle in this movie. They show Annabelle in this movie for a quick shot. So in the end, I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers tries to tie in It Chapter 2 into the Conjuring universe up to this point. It was just a really desperate attempt. It felt forced. It felt so forced. Like, this movie did not need to be a part of a franchise like The Conjuring. Like, the first Conjuring movie is good. The Annabelle creation is actually kind of good as well. The new Annabelle movie looks alright. But personally, I did not like Conjuring 2. I hated Annabelle and I hated The Nun. So there's no reason for this movie to be a part of that franchise when this movie could have worked as its own thing. But overall, this feels like the type of horror movie that I should have hated. But no, I actually really enjoyed this movie and I really ended up liking it quite a lot. So personally, I would recommend this movie on a matinee/discount day, and I'm gonna give The Curse of La Llorona a B. Anyways, that leads the question up to you guys. Are you guys going to see The Curse of La Llorona when it comes out in theaters later this week? And are you guys excited to watch this movie? I'm definitely going to go watch this movie again in theaters with my friends. I'm going to go see it in Dolby, so I'm pretty excited about that. But anyways, yeah, are you guys excited for this movie? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.